Thank you so much for inviting me to have a conversation with you about such an important topic, one that in the Western world we have neglected, but then we come to realize that 80% of the world's population are primarily oral preference learners. And having worn the hat of the International Orality Network's executive director, I've been privileged to see just how oral preference learners around the world are thriving in their local community because that's the way that they have received, processed, remember, and passed on important information to their communities. And so in the stewardship issue, where if 80% of the world's population receives information in an oral manner, but we produce 90% of our information in a textual transmission manner, somewhere along the way, we need to speak into that very specifically to help people to learn how that they need to think differently about what gets passed on to people. It's not necessarily textual, but often much, much more oral. One of the things that that was very clear to me is that in reaching the rest of the world, we must help them to be able to communicate in the way that they're used to. And so I was delighted to learn that oral stories from the Bible has been an integral part of C Company as they have discovered that this is one of the primary ways people receive information. And we're so delighted that C Company and T4 Global has a wonderful relationship. There's aspects of us that we just cannot do. That means scripture engagement. There's aspects of it that you could do, but you choose to let us sort of handle it, and that has to do with scripture access. So access and engagement are two different areas that is coming together for the language community. The local communities that they learn in oral story formats, as well as in songs and dances and poetry and proverbs, that is much more effective for them. For a culture to go from 0 to 30% of literacy, it takes 120 years. No one has 120 years to disciple oral learners. We need to disciple them now in this generation. They are encouraged to work with those oral learners today, discipling them, and that they themselves could see how they have the truth, the Word of God, who is alive and incarnationally spoken through the individuals, that they could disciple others and form new churches. That is a wonderful encouragement from T4 Global to us, realizing, oh yes, we're on the same path together. Some of the things I really want to say in appreciation for T4 Global is that you have gone into a space continually by faith. And that space by faith oftentimes is not what this society anticipates. By faith, T4 Global has decided to build into pastors, leaders who are from oral preference cultures. The bride of Christ is whom we are serving together, and I'm so delighted that we could work together in that fashion.